Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. So today's video I'm going to tie the Baron. This fly has actually been created and fished for quite a few many years. It goes back into the 1800s. Kelson wrote about it. Price Tannant wrote about it. I believe it was in Hale's book as well. So quite a few people have used this pattern over the years, and it's been a very successful pattern for a lot of people. So I'm going to show you how to tie it. In my last video, if you guys saw the last video, I did the underbody here on this fly. So I was curious to know what you guys think. If you'd rather see me tie the underbody and the eye in these videos, or if you'd rather see me just skip that part and get to the rest of the fly itself, because I do know the underbody does take a little bit of time up, and it is a little on the boring side. But if you guys would rather see that, I'm happy to do that and leave that in the video. If not, let me know. So we'll start this video without it. It's already been done. So I'm using 74 denier thread, excuse me. And my tinsel is small Vivus French silver. There'll be a link in the description below and places that you can get that. You can probably also do a Google search and find it. Alright, so the tag for this calls for a red claret silk, and also a red claret hackle. But I do not have a red claret hackle, I only have a claret. So I'm going to match that and just use a claret silk. This is Japanese embroidery silk. And now you've seen in my other videos, if you've watched them, that I like to put a little extra tinsel on the tag and just kind of do a spiral wrap around it with it. It just adds a little bit of extra flash to it, makes it look a little nicer, but there's really no reason for it, and it's not called for in any of the books. Just something that I like to do. I think it looks nice. So instead of wrapping our tinsel and then going to the floss, we'll tie in, we'll do the floss, and then wrap the tinsel around it. Now what I'm doing here is I'm lining up, as you can see, I'm lining up the thread with the hook point. That's where I want my butt to be, is just about there. It varies from pattern to pattern and hook to hook. Some hooks you want it to be a little bit farther forward, some maybe getting down into the bend a little bit more. But as a general guide, when you're starting out, a really good rule of thumb is to start your fly, start your tip and tag even with the barb, and then have your butt even with the hook point. Alright, now I do not have gloves, once again. I'm still waiting for them to get delivered. And this is a small section of silk, so I'm not going to put it on the bobbin. I'm going to do it by hand, and I just hope that my hands don't rough it up too bad. Let's get that out of the way. I also did wash my hands just now with Dawn dish soap. That'll help kind of remove any grease and oils from my fingers. Now we are going to put our tag here, our tip here rather, so you don't want to go all the way down to the bottom. I like to just stop just shy of where my thread stopped. Okay, I'll just tie that off. Run the burnisher over it really quick, and I'll just help smooth it out. Kind of helps fill in all the little peaks and valleys that are in between the threads. I think I'm happy with that, so we'll go ahead and clip this. And then we'll wrap our tinsel. And we'll do like, I think 3 wraps down here. And then I'll do 1 or 2 or 3. 1, 2, let's see if I can get a 3rd. Now we're going to be a little on the tricky side because it's right next to where the tail is going to tie in. So that could wind up posing an issue. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. I'm trying to keep the camera closer so I can get nice detailed shots, but I keep bumping the camera with my hands. Let's try that again. 2. There we go. And just remember this Vivis French tinsel is metal. It's a metal sheathing on the outside, so don't use your good scissors on it. And I'm just leaving that little tag there in case I have to go back. And then to make it a nice smooth transition, that'll go underneath the butt and then end right underneath there. Now we're going to tie in the tail, so we need to load this up just a little bit. Just so there's a little flat spot for that tail to sit on. Okay, see what's happening here? Yeah, the tail's popping up like that. That's because right here where that tinsel is, and that golden pheasant's hitting that tinsel and that's popping it up. That's why you always got to make sure your transition between your tip and tag and right here is nice and smooth. Still popping that tail up. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put the tail in. Now right here, where that tinsel is, that tinsel I have to build up right here because that tinsel is going to cause that tail to pop up. And it won't look right. So what we'll do is we'll build the thread base here with a little bit of wax on there. And we'll take our golden pheasant topping. Tie that into place. Kind of play a little tug of war on it back and forth, kind of get that settled in where it looks best on there. There we go. Alright, now there's a couple different versions of this where there is an Indian crow and a Cotinga feather on the tail as a veiling, or there in Kelson's book there is no veiling. So I'm just not going to put a veiling on this one. We're going to go right over and we're going to do peacock crow, or excuse me, an ostrich crow for the butt. So we'll just take the ostrich roll. Clip a feather. That one's already broken, so I'm going to grab another. And then when you tie this in, you want to have the quill part, this flat part, facing forward, and you want to have this nice flat fuzzy part facing backward when you wrap it. So I always tie it with the fuzzy part facing up. And then when you wrap, you overlap each pass onto the previous. Get them as close together without being on top of each other as possible. And then tie that off. Alright, some guys, they like to put a little drop of head cement when you get the tail all set. I didn't feel it was really necessary here, so I didn't do it. And all I'm doing right now is there's a piece of tinsel that's sticking out into the body. I'm just flattening that out so that way when I wrap my flat tinsel here, we don't see it. And this, I'm going to, the stem for that, I'm going to carry all the way forward. And we're going to tie that right off. And then I'm just using my thumbnail to kind of push that down. So the other thing about this underbody material is it is a little on the soft side. So harder materials like your feather brackeses like this, you can get that to push down a little bit into it, which helps get you a smoother body. Same thing with tinsels. I wouldn't go taking a large tinsel and trying to cram that and smash it down into it. But you know, a feather racquet or a small little tinsel butt end like that, yeah, that'll push right down into that underbody material, as you can see. All right, the rear body segment is flat silver tinsel, ribbed with silver oval tinsel. So for this, I'm just using Danville Mylar. This is size number 10. It's the double-sided. So it's half silver, one side silver, one side is gold. There's the spool on it. And we want the silver to wrap on the outside, so we're going to face that up against the hook shank when we tie it in. And then the body tinsel is also Vivus, like I did in the tail, in the tag, excuse me. Only this is large. Alright, now to tie this in, you can do two things. You can tie it in up to the end of the body segment, and you can tie it in all the way up front, or you can take it and strip the end off like this, which exposes that silk core in there. And then you can tie that silk core to the body and it won't build up very much. So we'll do it that way and I'll show you how. I like my oval tinsels to start on the back side of the fly, almost at like the 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30 position. Take a look right here. Here's something that I want you to notice. You see, right here, there's a gap between the tinsel and the butt. That's no good, because then when I go to wrap that tinsel, that's going to show, and especially with the flat tinsel body, that's going to wrinkle that. So you want to make sure that you go back and get that tied nice and tight up against that butt. There we go. And then take it forward. Now we're ready to rock and roll. There's two ways you can do this. You can do it this way and just do one layer. Or you can do two layers where you start up here and then go back to the butt and then back forward again. And what that does is that makes sure that you have a nice silver body. So by doing that, you'll make sure that any gaps that you do have between your tinsel, you don't see what's underneath. But I think I can do it this way, ever so slightly overlapping each wrap, and then keeping it nice and smooth and even. Again, leaving just that little tag so that way I have to back up, I can. And we'll do our oval tinsel, which I'm going to do 3 turns. And have that end right on the underside there. Now here's the thing, this body has veilings on it. There's an Indian crow veiling on the bottom and on the top. So what we're going to do here is again strip this end just enough to be able to tie it off. being comfortable with a pair of tweezers really helps a lot. I rely on my tweezers for just about everything. And they don't have to be expensive tweezers. I've got tweezers from the dollar store. Well, I have different size tweezers for different things. And they most definitely do help. Oh, this guy. Okay. We got that done. Gonna get our veilings. In which case I'm using Indian Crow Substitute. These are by Ryan Houston. I believe he's got these on eBay. I'll put the link in the description below. Now when you set your veilings, you want them to just overlap the butt. So what we're going to do, we actually want these to sit up just a little bit. So we tie them on. They sit up a little. When you tie this in, you're going to do just a couple of loose wraps and then pull it back just a little bit. And when you pull it back just that little bit, you'll see the feather kind of starts to pull together underneath that thread. And then it'll bunch up just enough to get that desired look, which this is not it. These few over here keep popping upwards. Just a little more. happy with that. Wet my fingers just a little bit. This should help keep it all together. That'll help keep it together. That's better. Now when that dries, should get more of that desired effect that I was looking for. Okay. I'll do the same thing on the underside. Pull away most of the fluff because I'm sure we're going to be tying in on that. And you want this one to be just as even as the other one. So make sure they're the same length. Okay. Pencil's giving that crow a little bit of a hard time on that side. Okay, like that. And now we have another butt made of ostrich roll. So we'll tie that in the same way. I'm just going to put a little bit of wax on there to help that stick a little better. Ostrich roll slides on itself, so put a little wax right here. Prevent it from sliding on you. So again, the rack is, the quill faces forward and the fuzzy part faces back. Nice tight touching turns. And that's plenty. And we'll put that away. Well, this front section is black silk. So to keep it flat and even, I'm going to leave those stems. Okay, I've got the black thread back on the bobbin spool. And we're going to do a quick whip finish just to get this out of the way. And then just like before, we'll just wrap this. If it starts to twist, we'll untwist it. Make sure we flatten it out. Get all your floss wraps is touching. And you can overlap your, you know, if you see a high spot or a low spot, you can overlap your thread wraps, your floss wraps a little bit. Anyway, I will admit though, I do like this method of wrapping floss. Some situations, long shanked hooks, and you know, in situations you have to apply a lot of it. I really do like this. It does work quite well. And my buddy John Waldron told me about that. He said, this is what I do, give it a try, and it kind of took me a minute to figure it out and make sure I was doing it right, but it's relatively easy. You don't have to worry about fraying your thread or touching the thread and getting, you know, your finger dirt or anything on it. Go just a little bit more. I didn't put much on this spool, so I'm right at the very end. I'm afraid of it slipping off the spool. I hope I don't regret it, but I'm going to go just a shade more. Okay. I've also tied this fly by using seal's fur on the body instead of floss, and that does look rather nice. I like having that bushy upper front. As you can see right here, I want to point something out. Right here, you can see the floss has a little bit of waviness to it. Right there. And that's because of the gut. Well, the gut sub. Silk gut itself, you have to soak it first before you apply it, and that can soften it up a little bit, which, you know, your thread will sink into it a little bit better, and it's better for shaping, and you wind up with a much smoother shape to it. But with silk gut subs like monofilament, it's a little bit more difficult to get that waviness out, even by doing an underbody. So even right here you can see a little bit of it, but a lot of that you're actually not going to really see because of everything else that's going to be up here in the front of the fly. The hackle and the throat, and a lot of that will get covered up. Alright, so I'm going to the tinsel. We'll take our oval tinsel. We'll wrap that in a similar direction, angle, and pattern as the rear section, just to keep it uniform and make it look all right. Just change the angle on that just a little. I'm trying to do 4 wraps of tinsel in the front. I don't know, because that 4th is going to land right where I want to put my throat and my wing, and oh, it looks like 3. Sorry about that. So to tie that in, we'll do the same thing like we did last time, or to tie it off rather. What we're going to do is use the tweezers and strip away this sheathing. Expose that core and at least get rid of that thicker outer sheathing. There's a thinner inner sheathing as well, but the outer sheathing is what's really gonna add that bulk and create your issues. I'll just get rid of that. Tie this off. And move on to the hackle. The hackle, you can strip one side and then just have like a one-sided hackle, which is a little bit thinner. I like a thicker hackle, so I'm going to I'm just going to double this and palmer it as I go. And to double it, I'm just tucking this in right behind that tinsel. If you can get that racket to tuck right in underneath it, that'll help fold your hackle. And then just slowly keep pulling it back as you wrap. And then we'll get to the throat area. I'll do one good solid wrap there. And then right where we're going to tie off, strip away these feather barbs. You can strip those away too beforehand. if you can measure out and kind of figure out where your hackle is going to end, you can always do that beforehand. Strip those away, expose that little rachis there, and then you won't have to worry about trying to strip it while it's on the fly. And then we'll just take these and kind of fold them down and back a bit. Now all I'm doing here is just kind of pinching, squeezing that as hard as I can to kind of almost crease those and make them stay down. And then just those uncooperative few we'll remove. Now for the throat is usually calls for blue jay, Eurasian jay, which I don't have any that's long enough for this, so I'm just going to use some dyed guinea hen. Or if you see it in the recipe books, it's also the same as galena. Now when you do your throat and you're tying it in, you want to make sure that your throat lines up and matches the length on the longest part of your body hackle. So if you're measuring this out, I'm going to do a half wrap under. You see right off that's going to be really long. So, and another feather here that was a little shorter. So we'll kind of do the same thing with this one. Alright, we'll use the front part of this feather and that'll look good. Actually running low on my dyed blue guinea, so I may have to get some. Alright, so what I've done now is I've just stripped away by the tip, and that's where we're going to tie in. And again, for this you can strip one side of the feather, or you can wrap it whole. I'm going to try leaving it whole just to add a little bit more bulk to it. And this is also another one that you want to make sure that you fold, that you double. You can double beforehand or when you're wrapping. and then just keep pulling it back. I'm actually going to end it a little shorter than I wanted. See how this looks first. It's a pretty thick throat. So I'm going to go back and I think I'm going to strip to one side. Just because I like it thick, but I think that was a bit too thick. So when you're stripping these, you want to strip the far side of the feather. So when you're wrapping these and you tie it in, this feather's already pretty beat up, so it's going to be harder to see, but I'll show you in a second though. And see how much different that is now just from stripping one side of the feather. However, the only thing that did do, though, is it left me a heck of a large spot for my throat, or for my head. And I don't like that. I wanted the head to be a bit smaller than this. So I'm going to make an attempt to put in a second piece of guinea hen, and maybe one more wrap. Yep, that's going to leave a big throat and more bulk than I wanted. So I'm either going to have a long head or a big head. That's a bummer. But we'll see, maybe I can save it. Alright, so here's what I was saying before is, you've got the two sides of the feather. This would be the far side, because when you tie in, that's the feather that's going to be on the far side of it from you. And that's the one you want to strip away. You want this near side the most. That's what's going to give you that nice backward, that backward curving. That we like to see in our throats. And what's funny is, now I'm back to where I started with the same thickness of guinea hen. Well, trial and error, that's how we learn. Alright, I'm just going to burn away a couple of things here.